The German Bundesverfassungsgericht additionally outlined that inasmuch as the integration process goes on, that is to say, the transfer of national sovereignty progresses or continues, there must be democratic compensations. What does the European Constitution, the German Constitutional Court, understand by democratic compensation? Inasmuch as the competence of national sovereignty is shifted from Germany to Europe, to Brussels, there must be within the Brussels structure democratic compensation. The only compensation which can be given is compensation to the European Parliament. So in the Maastricht judgment in 1993, the Bundesverfassungsgericht, the German Constitutional Court, said on one hand there must be a substance of democratic decision-making process through the Bundestag which remains with the German people. On the other hand, inasmuch as originally and authentically national sovereignty is shifted to the European Union, there must be democratic compensation. The German Constitutional Court in 1993 said a few more things. And by saying a few more things about subsidiarity, about the European Union as a legal community, about a system of limited powers and limited authorizations, it put a number of conditions to its yes, to its consent to the Maastricht Treaty. So the Maastricht decision is the precursor, so to speak, of the decision we are now going to await, and there will be announcement of the judgment on the 30th of June. To sum the Maastricht judgment up, we might say it is revolutionary insofar as it invented a right of the citizen to protest against a shift of power, a transfer of competence, which renders the national democracy and the role of the national parliament almost null and void, although the German parliament remains fully in place. And secondly, it posed a number of conditions, a number of essential conditions to the ongoing European integration. The particular aspect, and critical aspect about that judgment is that none of the conditions which the Bundesverfassungsgericht has posed has been respected. The Bundesverfassungsgericht said, yes, we can allow the German government to enact a European monetary union, inasmuch as the European monetary union is a community of stability, of monetary stability, because the Germans are extremely attached to monetary stability, as you can imagine. There are families who lost their property 2 times in their life after 2 wars, so through inflationary processes. So there's almost nothing as much cherished by the German people as monetary stability. And the Constitutional Court said, our condition to creating a monetary union is that it is a community of stability, with the stability and growth pact, surveillance, monitoring of fiscal deficits. As we all know, and as experience or reality has proved, the stability community is no longer in place, and the Stability and Growth Pact is no longer respected. The second example I'd like to give you in that particular context is the principle of subsidiarity. The European Union is supposed to be legitimately acting only if there is an absolute need to act as a community, giving a preference to a community solution compared to a national solution. The European community does not care about the principle of subsidiarity. The European community, and the Commission in particular, only cares about its own powers. Whenever the community can act, finds a good reason to act, it acts. I'll give you a few examples in order to illustrate the thesis. So the great question which is arising, and which will be practically solved by the judgment which we await for the 30th of June, is what will the Constitutional Court say? How will the Constitutional Court comment that German politicians, that the German government have not respected and implemented the conditions the court put in 1993? Because legally speaking, a consent giving under condition is no longer consent once the condition is no longer respected. Politically speaking, a consent given by a court with a condition is consent and can no longer be reversed. We can no longer retroactively make a revision of the Maastricht Treaty. This is impossible. So this is the particular context of the constitutional discussion in Germany, and the question which arose when we prepared this complaint in the autumn of 2008 was, which are the trigger points of the Lisbon Treaty? In which aspect does the Lisbon Treaty violate the principles which have already been laid down in the Maastricht judgment? The main problem was that, and is still, that our opponents in the government and in the Bundestag, very European-minded, say that the Lisbon Treaty doesn't really add anything essential to the existing competences, and that the process of integration would go on even without the Lisbon Treaty. This is a true argument, a very, very dangerous argument, which shows that the European community is in the way of an automatic process of integration with an institution like the European Commission, which is auto-referential and which does no longer really pay tribute to the limits of government and to the limitations of its powers. And as a matter of fact, since the Lisbon Treaty has been, at least formally for a certain amount of time, been rejected by Ireland and criticized by other countries, the process of European integration in Brussels has not suffered a bit. It just goes on. The legislative activity of the European Commission goes on, and they are as active as ever before, and no stop can be seen. At least the menace which pretendedly is hanging over us, as the Commission says and as the legal service of the Council says, the menace that there will be a standstill of European integration is far away from being reality. Which are the trigger points of the Lisbon Treaty which should or deserve our attention, our legal attention? The Lisbon Treaty transforms the community from a community which has the objective of achieving, of realizing an internal market, to a community which in the field of domestic policy has left no field at all, no field of politics or policy at all, to the national legislator. The community could from that day on intervene into every field of domestic policy. Whereas in the past, till the Maastricht Treaty, the core